Rob Grimes with the IFPTA, and I'm really pleased today to have Brian Whitney with me, who's the Chief Revenue Officer of Tray. And they are one of our latest industry supporter partner members. So welcome to the IFPTA.
Thanks, Rob. Very happy to be here. Excited to be here and work with the whole team at IFPTA.
You mentioned that you're doing people down to, you have a 6-unit customer. So you are selling to the large brands, I get that. Is there a sweet spot in the average size of a customer? If you say, okay, the highest end, maybe you have, IHOP out there and,
Right.
something like, DineEquity. But down on the lower is this 6-unit group. I mean, is there a sweet spot that seems to be a lot of the clients looking forward in the full service space?
The growth is, it's really more about the growth and where they're going. You could be an 80-unit brand that's attriting, that's slowly receding. A new point of sale investment is not going to make sense for you. You could be a 6-unit brand that's got new franchisee development that's going to take you to 60 in the next 3 years. You need to get on a technology platform that enables that growth, not wait until you're at 60, because then
Sure, of course.
unwinding that becomes a lot harder. And that's one of the things that we're seeing. It's one of those things of, do I grow and then invest in tech stack? Do I do tech stack and then growth? In that tech stack gives you a stronger foundation to be able to grow forward. The brands that we're seeing that are doing that they're able to leapfrog and grow faster.
Well, so it occurs to me, I'm sure you already know this, but it occurs to me that when there's a lot of acquisitions going on in this world right now. And when I've talked with people who are doing acquisitions, especially of growth brands, one of the advice, like people will ask me all the time, how should I select a system or what are my criteria? And sometimes my criteria, by the way, are not necessarily about the functions and features. I'll say, well, what are you planning to do in the future? Are you planning to be sold, right? Are you planning a franchise? Are you planning to go to other geographies? Well, it occurs to me in this scenario, if I were an SMB in a high growth thing and I were to be sold, one of the limiting factors sometimes is the cost of the acquisition, which is the staff, it's the equipment in place, do I have to replace it? So sometimes that tech stack that you're talking about when you're a larger chain, they look at that and they say, okay, if I buy this company to get them on my platform, to get uniform reporting, I got to replace. In this case, actually they don't.
That's right.
They can keep exactly what they have.
That's right.
And yet what they are doing is upgrading on the software side, which made it easier for the chain itself to get in there, for the brand to get in there, but it makes it easier to do an acquisition because you're taking one less cost of the acquisition or transition off the table.
Right.
Yeah, so I see that as a key piece. You've also mentioned global clients. So are you guys global?
We are. So today we have our relationship with Dine Brand takes us throughout North America, and we've very recently.
Is that North America, Canada?
Yeah. So we've focused on Canadian growth, and then we've recently signed our first international contract with a partner in Saudi Arabia and Al Raida Finance. And so they have a plan to launch inside of their finance community where they're giving SBA loans to cafes and restaurants to incent that with point of sale and grow that as a POS provider in the Middle East area, starting inside of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
So when you're selling even in North America to the smaller groups, do you have a value-added reseller network or are you selling direct?
Today we're selling direct. We are talking with many different channel approach market to really look and understand what are the needs of that segment. We want to make sure that as we develop that SMB segment in Saudi Arabia and we develop some of the SMB needs and requirements and capabilities, that we're empowering a local market to deliver on those for customers. We see that there's a need in that market for a robust solution that isn't tied to hardware and payments, that has the flexibility and the power of some of the best-in-class integrations that are in the marketplace today. Because there's a segment of that space that wants to be able to use those higher-end solutions, and there's not really an option to be able to do that today, and there's a segment for that.
So when I think about this and I think about, you're joining Tray, and I think about your background, and I've known you for a long time, and a person sits there and goes, why does somebody like this go do that? And I think you've explained, why you went to your wife and told her why you were going to go take this job. I got that, okay? But in the last year and a half, that you've been doing this in there, and you've been doing some great growth in there. I'm curious as to two things. how much input have you had in actually putting in some of the functions and features that are needed for the market that you clearly came to the business understanding in the first place? You know, because I'm going to guess that unlike somebody who may have been having a beer in a family entertainment center or whatever that they see a need, you clearly understood this industry, and so you're helping to drive that forward. So how much did you need to, not what the customer asked for, but how much did the product really need, or were you really pleasantly surprised that it already had most of the things it needed?
Well, first off, I was blown away. You know, I've been through this enough times to know that things aren't always what they seem. So I actually vetted the company before I joined. Like, is this really true? Are you really doing some
How
of
many
these
beers did you have to have for that?
There were, well, it was still in the COVID-ish era, so it was all over Zoom. Made it a lot easier, a lot faster.
Had it delivered, I get it.
But yeah, but you know, at the end of the day, what's fun about Trey is that we have a great team. We've got product experts that our COO is somebody I've worked with for over 20 years who has deep breadth and experience at NCR, Windcore, and other companies. We've got our brand new CTO who's brought in some massive transaction handlings. We've got one of the senior designers from Twitter who comes in and handles, you know, how does our data flow and aggregation. We've got our head of product came in from another competitor in the marketplace. And so Peter's a brilliant guy. You know, I always say that whatever room he's in, he's the smartest guy in it. But he knows how to bring people in and how to bring that in, and then how to take the story from the market and translate it into the technology that we're able to deliver. So I've been a piece of an ingredient of that recipe that Peter's kind of cooking together.
But it sounds like from the other members that are on the team that there's a deep amount of industry experience in there as well, and those people probably made the same decision you did. They said, okay, we see something in this, we see the potential in this, we see the full service marketplace. How far does full service marketplace go? Because, you know, you have segments like the lodging industry, you know, the hotel industry that has full service in it. You've got partnerships, you know, with other groups. So how far does that go, you know, the gaming industry, cruise ships, you know?
Well, I think our focus has been on the core table service restaurant, full service restaurant marketplace. Clearly inside of that space, there are elements to grow, and we're looking at where are those. We currently have a discussion underway to do PMS integration, which would open up the hotel and lodging space. So, you know, we view those as ancillary markets. One of the things that I did from a revenue perspective when I came on board is that, you know, there were lots of options to go down different paths. And we quickly eliminated the distraction points. I don't want to call them that because it's not fair to those other industries. But we eliminated some distraction points.
Well, you can't go after everything, and you have a certain
really
type of person that you go after, right?
Well, and we want to focus and be the best at a food service point of sale. We have quick service clients. We have full service clients. And we feel like that solution stack, that there's enough in that space that, you know, as we need to grow and we have clients that say, gosh, I really need you to add a PMS integration, as one of our clients is bringing up, that's something that we can add on to the solution. And if that brings us an adjacency market, fantastic. But, you know, we're really looking at things to be able to go and be the best in this space. There is enough market share in this segment for us to be, you know, very successful at focusing on it and not distracting ourselves by chasing the next new thing.
I think the interesting thing is that just like pizza, people do not understand how sometimes challenging full service can be. You know, because you are dealing with things like, you know, the kitchen space and order timing and a number of things. So if somebody has one of these 15-year-old terminals out there, and they clearly are probably then not on the table side ordering with handhelds and things, are you able to mix and match and bring those technologies in to bring somebody up so that they can have the best of both?
I'll talk about Arctic Circle, which is one of our clients that we've grown with over the last year. They're actually a quick service brand. They had moved from a legacy point of sale to another solution that they thought was going to be the end all be all. And they had invested in hardware about 3 years ago to roll it all out, only to find out that the system didn't deliver and didn't meet the needs. And they felt they were stuck. They had invested in the hardware and they were just stuck. We got introduced to them, and we were able to go leverage that hardware investment, displace the software vendor that wasn't delivering, and move them forward. And with that, they were able to go and say, great, now we can add tablets and we can do line busting in the drive-through, which is something that they couldn't do that they wanted to be able to do. That they were able to bring in EMV and Apple Pay and Apple Wallet and their online ordering and all of these different things that the previous provider wasn't able to do successfully. And we've been able to move that, and they've been a phenomenal partner in that quick service space to launch. So whether it's drive-through and line busting and those capabilities, we were able to step in and do those and build a great relationship.
So I'm curious about something that you would think I would know the answer on already, but I don't know the answer to this. It just occurred to me.
Yep.
So if you're building on a platform, whether the platform would be iOS or whether it be Android, but let's say you're building on the Android platform, are you able to also embed and take advantage of other applications that are already built on that platform, let's say in the Play Store, and use them if they wanted, because there's a lot of applications out there for different things? Are you able to?
I think that's one of the differences of how we deploy versus how some other solutions can deploy. So our solution is actually deployed in what's called a managed deployment basis. We have a program that we can implement directly on the device. It's not available in the Google Play Store. So you don't have the wild, wild west of knowing or not knowing what's on a particular device.
Well, that's the whole data security and what are they looking at thing too, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So if you're an individual unit restaurant, an open market, download this app solution, that can be just fine. When you start moving into the enterprise space and you worry about PCI audits and you worry about data security and privacy and HIPAA, you want to have a strong, robust solution. Right. And our capability enables us to lock down that terminal.
Right, exactly.
It also gives us the capability from a support perspective of completely wiping it and building it back up remotely, so that when you do have an issue with that 15-year-old piece of hardware that you don't really know what it is, we can wipe it and rule the software completely out and know that. So we're
but maintain the data of what they already have.
Because it all lives
in the data, right? Of course.
It all lives in the cloud.
Of course.
So we've got local storage on the device should it fall offline, but it's synchronized automatically with the cloud. So if we wipe that singular device, all the data gets replicated right back down in a matter of a few minutes.
I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure to have Brian Whitney, the Chief Revenue Officer of Tray, join us today as the newest industry supporter partner member. And welcome to the IFBTA, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Rob. It's been a pleasure.